Vakoc and Brambilla are the chosen sons today for Quick Step Floors, and here we go. We're just about to tip into what is going to be a very, very rapid approach. I think a lot of the sprinters have been shaken out here.
I think they've definitely been put under pressure, an awful lot of pressure. So it's going to be interesting to see when we get halfway down this descent, how many of the sprinters have made their way back in as we're now cresting, going past the King of the Mountains there. And now we got this descent, and I think it's going to be a perler.
Yeah, and there is Valverde with his almost marine blue spectacles on here, and he's just working his way through. He finds Geraint Thomas, and they will almost be locked together. There's three from Quickstep as they're going over the top, and TJ Van Garderen has decided that he needs to stay as part of the pack as well today. He's a little bit further back with 13 kilometers to go. This is great work as well. Is this Godot? Is this Godot from Francis de Geur that's also involved here?
Yeah, that might be. I didn't actually catch him, but it's definitely Mike Soler from Movistar who's making that attack in that white jersey of the young leader in the young riders classification. But this is more of an interesting one, more of a dangerous move, I think.
Soler then, and the wind farm doing its thing up here. It looks like there's not much, as you can see, but the wind is behind them at the moment, and that's going to serve them well on this rundown. You've got to be brave, and that looks like Valverde that's just decided to go on the attack as well to bridge over to these guys. Only the briefest look from him, but that's committed enough to be him. 13 kilometers remaining. You've got to be brave on a day like this, and this is that run for home that we were talking about. It equals out to a flat, or it eventually reveals a flat 2 kilometers at the end. I think Geraint Thomas has also made it over here. 13 kilometers to go.
I think that is actually Chris Froome, to be honest with you, and that is Valverde that's come across there.
That's what I said.
Yeah,
Valverde is there. If
Chris Froome is on his wheel.
If it's not G, then Froome, who's turned himself into a master descender these days. Be great to see him duking it out today as well. Remember on the sprint day when he finished runner-up to Peter Sagan in the Tour last year, everyone was completely shocked. But yes, he likes to mix it, and that's what we're seeing right now. At the elbow suggests it is Chris Froome. There is Valverde, who's the big danger man today for absolutely everybody, looking for more bonus seconds. How will this pan out? It's going to be fascinating. 12 kilometers to go.
Well, it's going to be very fascinating indeed, and Marc Soler is now being given the all go to press on as hard as you can. You got your team leader on your wheel, and I just wonder who's going to try and bridge this.
Nobody knows. Soler then wearing the young rider's white jersey with Valverde in P3 at the moment in a very select breakaway. Well, the wind farm offering up some brief applause to those who are going by, and they are sailing by at pace. And in fact, they've pulled the motorcycle. No, they haven't. He's trying to stay away from them as we stand. A quartet of glory. Will it be between they? Well, they can time trial as well if it is indeed Froome that's on board, and we believe it is, courtesy of the elbows. But it might be Geraint Thomas as well. We're waiting for confirmation of that. 11 Ks to go. 11
Ks, yes, and very fast 11 Ks it's going to be. But I wonder whether they got enough there to stay ahead of the bunch. It's all going to be a question of descending skills rather than actual horsepower, and certainly if we're looking at the power when that's going to be required when they get down onto the flat, the front group has got it.
10 to go. Here they are, and the motorcycle is going to struggle to stay away from them. He's going to have to power away and not make a use of himself in the corner. Look at the big cuts that they've got through the hillside here. My goodness, there must have been some protests when they cut that one. It's a beautiful road for us to look at, though, with less than 10 to go.
What a stunning descent this is, and certainly in terms of racing as well, everyone's scrambling to hold positions, try and move up as well, because when we get down to the bottom, there isn't an awful lot of time to move around and try and get near the front of the bunch. And certainly with this pace being held, fast descent.
What a spectacular road this is, cut into the sandstone, and oh, double check, and that may well have been a little bit of dust here. All the cavalcade that's been through, don't forget, if they cut the corners, they drag a little bit of the sandstone grit onto the surface here, and if you catch it, then indeed the wall was waiting with open arms for you. The back of the pack going through the 10 to go. I suggest those up front have got less than 9 right now. Such is the pace, and there it is. The chase is on. There's others that would would like to be part of it. What a fantastic look this is right now to the end of today as we head down towards the coast. Valverde, I think, possibly as favourite amongst this quartet.
Well, it certainly would be a favourite if they come in as a quartet to the final, straight up towards the finish line. Valverde is by far the fastest rider, but it's still a long way to go. Although Soler is really pressing on down here, taking all the risks that he can.
Fabulous cuts into the curves here. These guys can choose a much kinder line, I guess you might say. They're racing into the motorcycle. He's going to let them go. There they go. Well, isn't it fantastic to see that we said last year Chris Froome's turned himself into one of the best descenders. We used to question him in terms of his ability when he was going downhill. Now he powers into it. In fact, he did some wind tunnel training, actually sitting down on the top bar and just powering away whenever he could. There is Valverde also within this group, and he's got a teammate here with Marc Soler, so they have got to have an advantage, and Valverde wants to take most of today and take it home with him. It is David Godot from Francis Tejeur that's embedded within this quartet. The motorcycle just a little bit close for my liking, and he eases off and lets them gives them a little bit of space. The question is, how close are the chasers?
Well, I think that there's quite a decent gap to the chasers. We haven't had any kind of confirmation on the time gap, but certainly these guys are pressing on, and Valverde is keen to push on as well, and he's putting a lot of pressure on the teams, and certainly TJ van Garderen.
Well, this is fantastic. They can operate as a time trialing unit here, but as you saw from the elbow flicking out from Chris Froome, he wants Soler to do a bit more work. Doesn't want to use him as a passenger. Valverde calls Soler up to drive it on. Well, you can't ask too much when there's two from one team here. He's got the ultimate excuse.
Well, you've got the ultimate excuse, and there's no way that Chris Froome should ride with those two riders. He's just got to sit here and get himself dragged towards the finish. And potentially, if there is an opportunity to attack later on, then do that and try and take the stage.
There we are. So arguments are plenty with 7 kilometers to go. And in fact, that'll spin down before you know it. Now, this is that little plateau section. There's a flat section. There are 2 steps within this, the last of which will drop them to a point where there is just 2 kilometers remaining. So it's like a little escarpment, if you like, and then they kick off and take another step in this wobbly slide that we're dealing with at the moment. 7 kilometers, and in fact, it looks like it's all over for them. The pursuers are onto them. So who are amongst that chasing group that's fast and can do something today? Valverde's calling for a little bit more pace, has a look behind, working with Soler at the moment, and but I'm afraid it's all too late. BMC have done a good job of keeping TJ up where he needs to be. Yeah,
they certainly have done a good job, and I think it's BMC on the front driving this to try and bring it back as well, but it's going to be difficult for those 4 riders to stay away. And as soon as we got any kind of a sprinter or a team that thinks that they have got an opportunity to win a sprint and they get themselves organized, then it's going to be all over for these 4 riders. I
wonder if Chimolai is out there, which is why Godot is not contributing too much. He sits on the wheel of Chris Froome. If that's the case, and they are going to get taken, then Godot is not going to be the chosen son today. It will be Chimolai, of course, who won the opening stage, beating Buani, we remind you, and Greipel, who finished in 5th. 5Ks remaining then, and still they're looking behind. This is that little step, that little kick up before we get another drop to the 2K out marker.
Yeah, it's just a small drag up, but it's nevertheless very, very painful at this point. And even though that has been a long descent, these guys have been going flat out, and they're producing an awful lot of power even going down the hill. Here
comes Geraint Thomas amongst the pack. Chris Froome here gave a sort of a rueful turn of the head as they're regathered here. Dan Martin in a decent position. He got over the top okay.